what happens to the toss? Because Rohit Sharma cannot lose another toss. You cannot have 14 losses in a row.
Yeah.
Like, is it high time? Should he wear a mirchi and nimbu something? Like, what is it?
In the women's game, actually, Harmanpreet Kaur sometimes tosses with her left hand because in Indian cricket, we now have two unlucky captains. Both Harman and Rohit can't seem to win a toss. Harman sometimes tosses with the left hand, so maybe if he gets to toss, maybe he can try doing the left hand coin toss. But in all seriousness, this is
Yeah.
I mean, it's not out, it's not in his control. I mean, now it's become more than a parody.
It's the final on Sunday of the ICC Champions Trophy 2025. And it's a match that's deja vu with a twist. India and New Zealand have this history of going head to head when it's always a high stakes match, be it the final of the year 2000 Champions Trophy final, where Chris Cairns' unbeaten 102 gave them the trophy, won them the trophy, of course, and then again in 2019, India versus New Zealand semi-final match that gave India the collective heartbreak when the Kiwis sailed to the final. To discuss what is at stake this time and how India is faring and how badly the Kiwis need an ICC trophy now, with me today, Vinayakk Mohanarangan, our senior assistant editor of the Indian Express Sports Desk, and of course our in-house cricket expert. Vinayakk, welcome and hello. First off, starting off, how wary is India of New Zealand?
Well, in these ICC events, India are usually wary of New Zealand because of, like you said, the 2019 heartbreak still fresh for a lot of people when India were very close to that final after a long time and couldn't make it, and winnable match ended up going away from them. In more real terms, in more substantive terms, India should be wary of New Zealand for this match because of just how good a side New Zealand are. It's very simple. I mean, history and all that is, we can talk about the narrative, all that leading up to the match. But on the day, it's going to come down to how good a side New Zealand are. The reason that they have been successful in this Champions Trophy is also because of the quality that they've had. There's been a lot of talk about the conditions in, different conditions in Pakistan and UAE and all that. But what New Zealand, like India, have done well is pick a squad that can have 11 to play on most surfaces and do well. They have a well-rounded pace attack, well-rounded spin attack, solid batting unit, and fielding is one of the best fielding sides in the world. So that's why India should be wary of New Zealand, because of just how good a side they are leading up to this.
Absolutely. We'll delve into the details as well. And I want to start off first with the conditions. There has been a lot of talk on how India is now comfortable in Dubai with the pitch, with the humid weather and all of that. And every time, India went ahead against South Africa or New Zealand or even Australia for that matter, was because that those teams were not used to the conditions. But now New Zealand is again well versed with the conditions, if we can say. So how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, like I said, New Zealand have a bowling attack that can exploit these conditions as well as India could. They have three really good spinners. One of them is, of course, Santner is probably one of the most underrated bowlers going around in the world.
Absolutely.
Phillips and Bracewell, they can hold their own. In Rachin Ravindra, they have a proper all-rounder who can play in a side as a batter or a bowler. So that sort of variety helps them. The conditions debate has been a little tedious over the last few days. It's not like people didn't know that this was what was happening leading up to the tournament. India did the smart thing by packing their side with spinners. They probably wouldn't have if they were playing in Pakistan, but that's a whole different debate because I don't think playing in Pakistan was ever a consideration for them.
Yeah.
So, given all that's gone in the past, I think New Zealand are the best team apart from India in the tournament. So the two best teams are in the final, and conditions apart, it's going to be a very close match.
Absolutely. You spoke about spin. I want to talk a little bit about seam because New Zealand bowlers were probably the only team that could bring in a bit of a seam in Dubai.
Yeah, they did have help early on. Kyle Jamieson especially was quite effective with his...
Height? Height is a factor?
The height is a factor, but he was actually bowling a lot fuller that day and getting the ball to move on. O'Rourke, on the other hand, was able to get the bounce. Both of them are giants of human beings.
Yeah.
So, that sort of variety is there, while Matt Henry is actually a slightly different bowler in terms of, more Tim Southee type. who can bowl the ball up and swing, and he got Shubman Gill in trouble early. So yeah, that even without the spin, their pace attack is quite handy. So early wickets is going to be crucial, and that's where I think New Zealand's seam attack is going to come into play. India have to make sure that they don't lose too many wickets early.
From bowling to fielding, because the last time we played New Zealand, we were very shaky when it came to fielding. There were slips, there were misses here and there, but New Zealand always, they have that killer's instinct. They were stopping every ball. There were hardly any extras. So how do you think India needs to buck up?
It's tough to compete with New Zealand on that front, honestly. They just have naturally better athletes than India's 11 combined, probably. I mean, we have very good fielders, of course, there's no doubt about that. But fielding is an area where I see New Zealand having a definite advantage. Glenn Phillips is probably the best in the world right now. I don't think India were bad in the fielding in New Zealand. They just weren't as good as New Zealand because the bar is suddenly higher. So India have to make up for it in the other batting and bowling, which they are capable of. Of course, I mean, you take the catches that come towards you, you're good. You don't have to take Glenn Phillips stunners every time, but make sure that you don't drop things that come your way.
Moving on to batting now, if we had to compare the batting order, New Zealand versus India, because that top batting order with Rachin Ravindran and everyone, it's not just that they give that bombastic start up, they can still hang in there.
Yeah, India have a bit more depth, I would say, compared to New Zealand. New Zealand is still, I mean, as good as they are, they're little heavily dependent on the top 4 or 5 coming good. Rachin is in amazing form. 5 centuries in ICC ODI events already for him. 3 in the World Cup. He practices quite a bit in Chennai as well. So that's something that, that's kind of what Venkat had written in our preview from Dubai.
Yeah.
It's India versus New Zealand is like India versus CSK, because a lot of people in the New Zealand camp are aware of conditions that are in Chepauk. They train there regularly. They play for the CSK, so they kind of know what Dubai is all about. Maybe not like a 350. It's not going to be like a huge scoring venue. Dubai has always been the 270, 280 sort of venue. So there, probably the batting lineup becomes a little more even, because a Kane Williamson does make up for a little bit of the depth that New Zealand lacks. I mean, if Kane Williamson bats for 30 overs, he's going to get you 100, and the rest can rotate around him, and they're good enough to do that. Like we saw in the semi-finals against against South Africa, where Kane was off to a slow start, but he caught up, and the rest of the unit 360. I mean, they made 360 look easy actually.
Yeah.
Right. So they're able to bench someone like Devon Conway, who's really good in these conditions, because of someone like Rachin Ravindra and Will Young at the top, as well as they have done. That helps them play, slightly more all-rounder-ish players to have the bowling depth as well. So how India stacks up, I'd say the top 4 is probably level almost, where Williamson and Kohli at number 3 are pretty much the same, right?
Yeah.
You have 2 greats in that position for each of the 2 teams. Very good opening pair in Rachin and Young for New Zealand, Rohit and Shubman Gill. I think Shubman Gill does offer a little bit of edge if he can. I mean, he had a couple of low-scoring outings already.
Yeah.
He has to come out of that. Didn't look that comfortable in the last 2 matches, so he has to make up for it. And I think Rohit needs to play more than just a 20-run, 30-run cameo.
Yeah.
If that is the case, I see the top 3 as level. Shreyas Iyer at 4 is a big...
What a play.
Yeah, is a big advantage, I would say, for India. He's been superb throughout the tournament, great form. Before that, he's carried on into the tournament. So Shreyas Iyer is an edge. Akshar Patel as number 5 has been a revelation. There's been a lot of doubts over whether he'll do well at number 5 or not. He's sort of answered those critics. KL Rahul, Hardik Pandya, Rajit Ravindra. Batting lineup sort of stacks up evenly till we get into the lower middle order types, where the Hardik, Rahuls and Akshars give India a little bit of a edge in that department.
If I had to ask you, who are the major difference makers that you see?
I see the difference makers as one for sure is Akshar Patel. Given how good he has been with the ball and bat and on the field during this tournament, he's been a proper 3-dimensional all-rounder that India have really wanted in the middle order. As important as probably in Hardik Pandya when it comes to balancing the team. Varun, of course, with his 5-wicket haul against New Zealand in that match on Sunday. I don't know if he'll have the same amount of success in the final, because New Zealand are now they would have studied, they would have understood what Varun is about, what sort of lengths he's bowling. So I think they'll come a little more prepared, and they have really good players of spin.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if he'll have the same sort of success that he had in the league stage match as in the final. So that
But
remains
fingers
to be
crossed,
seen.
yeah.
Yeah. So those three from an Indian perspective. For New Zealand, Santner, like I said, one of the most underrated spinners in the world. He was superb in the semi-final against South Africa on a flat pitch where I think 670 runs were scored.
Correct.
He was near unplayable on that pitch. So with a pitch that offers him a little bit of help, I think he's going to be huge for New Zealand. His 10 overs could probably decide the fate of the match. If India are able to see him out, then they'll feel good about their chances of winning. If he strikes thrice, 4 times, then India are going to be in trouble. Then Rachin, of course, for the form that he's been at the top of the order and what he offers as a three-dimensional cricketer, always exciting to watch him bat. So I think, Rachin will be, how he starts off will be very crucial as well.
Absolutely, and everyone knows their record when it comes to winning finals, despite what goes on in the league matches or in the knockout rounds. So our in-house expert has spoken, and as the captain of the Indian cricket team says, it doesn't matter if I win or lose the toss, we have to play either ways. So all eyes are now on the final match at Dubai on Sunday, where it's India versus New Zealand, and the collective mental health of India is dependent on the 11 men in blue who will go out to play that way. Of course, the Khada Hu Aaj Bhi folder is always there to go back to. So it's India versus New Zealand. May the best player, may the best team win, and let's see who takes home the coveted 2025 ICC Champions Trophy. I am Flora Swai, and with me, Vinayakk Mohanarangan, and you're watching the official YouTube channel of the Indian Express.